Welcome back to the Blue North. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about the senselessness that's going on in the United States. I don't mean the fight for equality. I don't mean the fight to have Black lives heard. I don't mean the fight against racism. All of that. Those are very necessary things. But in and amongst the groups doing the fighting for the right thing are a large number of people fighting to do the wrong thing. Now you see in the States these looters and rioters just set up to just destroy and steal and get personal gain and just be crazy and wild. You see in Seattle when they set up CHOP. There's nothing good about this. And it's actually against everything that they want in the country that they live in. They don't want borders. They don't want control. They don't want law. They don't want police. They don't want anything. Yet these are all the things that they tried to set up except for the law. Now they saw quite fast how having no police around, having no rules, and nobody in charge, we saw just how fast they had to take down CHOP. Now Donald Trump called for it to come down long before someone got killed, but the Democrats didn't see a need for it because they were trying to pander to these people and their vote. They were hoping that they would somehow turn all the negativeness of CHOP against Trump, and that they would say that it was all because of him. And well, we saw all too clearly that it was just the anarchists, the far left, that are just wreaking havoc in Democrat cities, and that the Democrats that are in charge are just not doing anything to take it down. Someone lost their life because of it. And it was all because of politics. It was all because the Seattle mayor and the Democrats did not want to actually take back over an area that they had lost. They lost control of. So the message coming out of there was not a positive message in any means. The goal that they had set up was not a positive goal. These things are just crazy. They're just trying to be lawless, senseless, and someone ended up losing their life. And that's when the Democrats have decided that they maybe need to step in. What you've let it go too far. In your weakness, you've let it go too far. Not only that, now you see Washington trying to set up a CHOP area as well. So if Venezuela's economy collapsed under the socialism and Bernie Sanders wants to set up the United States and follow that failed program or example, it's senseless to do it. So if Seattle failed, why would Washington try to set it up, or why would anyone allow Washington to set it up? Anyone that's a mayor or a governor or the president. It's not going to happen because they already know the outcome. So setting these up in other Democrat cities, there's not going to be a message sent back that Donald Trump is failing. It's already that attempt has already failed in Seattle. It only made the Democrats in charge look weak. So this is an election year. We're seeing the absolute worst acts of uncivil behavior. And this is what Hillary promised. This is what the Democrats have promised would be what they were going to bring to the table. And right out of the get-go, we saw that Obama and Biden and Hillary have started this Russian collusion. The paperwork cannot be let go because Schiff and Nadler won't allow that out. They don't want anybody to see that. Now they're working, they said, in order to keep that paperwork, they're working on a second impeachment of Donald Trump. They impeached him. There was a Russian collusion that was a waste of time that they orchestrated right from the get-go. We're seeing demonstrations in the streets that are basically just in Democrat cities. We're seeing that Democrat cities are not getting any help because they're too busy trying to orchestrate stuff like the impeachment. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in San Francisco there, Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff. You're ignoring the fact that you have tent cities where people are living on the street, defecating in the street, and hazmat-clad people have to come in and clean that every day. So you should probably look in your backyard before you start trying to take down the president on things that you've drummed up. But this is the problem. We have been promised uncivil behavior from Hillary until they regain the White House. What have we saw from the Democrats? Just that. We have seen this from we've seen it from governors of Democrat states. We have seen this from mayors of Democrat cities. Just this Father's Day alone, the number of people murdered and shot in Chicago. There are Democrat areas that have huge problems. They're problematic, and they're ignoring these problems and hoping that the media are totally ignoring them and trying to focus on negative things on Donald Trump instead. This is a major, major problem. We have a party, one of two parties in the United States, one party working to be basically that spoiled brat in the supermarket, didn't get his way, didn't get her way, and they're fighting in the aisle with their mom and dad, stomping and crying and throwing themselves on the ground. This is what we're seeing from the Democrat Party. And the mainstream media is so desperate to get them back in power. I have no idea why, but they're desperate to get the Democrats back in power. And what are they doing? They're ignoring the hissy fit that the Democrats are throwing. They will not cover it like it's supposed to be covered. It's just common sense. We are seeing that their promise of not being civil until they regain the White House, it is coming, really, it has happened right from the get-go, before they even left office. So these senseless acts have got to stop, and the Democrats have to be held accountable. The best way to hold them accountable is this year's election. Get rid of them. Get rid of a lot of politicians like Pelosi and Waters and Schiff and all of those, Nadler. They all need to go because they're not doing anything positive for their country. They're only there throwing hissy fits until they get back in power, and they still don't do anything for the people of their areas. This is a scary time. This is an absolute ridiculous display of childish, selfish behavior, and I'm dumbfounded when I turn it on. It's just common sense, and I have arguments with people all the time that don't see it. And I don't understand how they can't see it. It is as clear as the nose on my face. So I'm going to continue to follow this. I'm going to continue to see what the hissy fit throwing Democrats are going to pull as we get closer to the election. This election is so important. But you know what the Democrats, and sadly, this is what the Democrats are hoping for. They're hoping that they've made a nuisance of themselves to the point where people are just willing to let them have the power back. It's like somebody handing the hissy fit throwing child in the supermarket the box of cereal, the cookies, whatever they're throwing their fit over, somebody walking by and just giving it to them and saying, oh my gosh, just give them what they want so they shut up. That's what the Democrats are hoping for in the states on this one. They're not offering any solutions to the problems. They're actually trying to fight against the solutions that Donald Trump has proven to be effective and important and great for the community. They want to go against those, and they want to tear down borders, and they want to open sanctuary cities. And what the Democrats are fighting for isn't worth giving that kid the box of cookies, or don't give the Democrats their box of cookies. They're fighting against the decency of your country. They're fighting against the communities that make up your country. They're fighting for money in their own pocket. They're fighting for the things that will destroy your country from within. So I'll be following along. I'll be holding these Democrats accountable as I make my podcast. So anyways, stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and follow along as I follow the hissy fit throwing Democrats.